How you doing, guys? I work on the waterfront, and across the way there's a really good-sized marina there. Nice yachts. On a couple of the yachts, they do have residents who live there. Now, there's this one couple that does come into the store. He's kind of a braggart, always talking. She is very quiet, very reserved. Didn't know them too well personally, but she started coming in the store on her own a few times, and talking to her, the guy's a first-class narcissist. Found out he had gone away. He was on a business trip out of the country for about a month. And the more she said about him, the more dislikable he had become. I mean, he was always a braggart, and she had never said too much while he was around, but now she started talking. So she's telling me all this crud about him. I'm like, so why the hell are you with this asshole? Well, she claimed she loved the guy. Okay, I didn't buy it. Through conversation, I found out they actually were not married, so I says, well, you want to go out sometimes? I got nothing to do tonight. And she's like, well, I really can't. Actually, you can. Oh, no, he'll find out. He's out of the country. He's never gonna know. Got to find out he was using his phone to locate her. So I'm like, leave your phone on the boat. What if he calls? You were asleep. Well, I talked her into going out one night, and, well, she was nervous the entire time. And after about an hour or so, she said, well, I really need to get back. Okay. A couple of times we had gone out, and each time we had gone out, she got a little bit less nervous, to the point where she turned out to be quite a wild one. She was a heavy-duty partier, and there was one night, I'm like, I had to rope her up and lasso her in and say, we gotta go. And she said, oh, no, I'm having fun. Okay. Well, as the month went on, she told me one day that he was on his way back. He'd be back in about a week. And she didn't seem too thrilled about it. And I said to her, smart alecky, I says, are you going to be happy to see him? And she's like, yeah. I didn't buy it because she wasn't. Now, she knew the day was coming where he was going to be coming home. But she put it off into the future. While he was away, he had less of a grip. I mean, this guy was so controlling. Located her with the phone, constantly texting, constantly calling, to the point where she could not speak to anyone. And we all know how narcissists are. They put you down and they keep you in that little bubble. The problem was, while he was away, he lost his grip. And she decided she wanted to go out and have some fun. Well, he did come back, so we didn't see her much more after that. When Watchtower first decided to switch to an online religion, from a financial standpoint, it probably sounded like a really great idea. Unfortunately, they forgot what brought them to the dance to begin with. Let's face it, we all know now that the org keeps a tight grip on the rank and file. There would be no organization if they didn't keep a tight grip on those people. Let's face it, we all know the repetition, the constant bombardment, the ratting each other out. It all goes into one package. Jehovah's Witnesses wouldn't be Jehovah's Witnesses if they weren't totally controlled. So now, although from a financial standpoint it sounded like a good idea at first to switch to an online religion, they didn't think of one thing. You do away with the Kingdom Halls, do away with that overhead, you do away with the publications, you do away with the constant bombardment of their propaganda, and you loosen that grip. They never considered that. Well, about 2 years ago, they had a chance to test the waters. They had the pandemic, they had their Zoom meetings. Let's see how this is going to work. Now, at first, they're thinking this is our chance to do away with the Kingdom Halls. Many of them went up for sale. Many Jehovah's Witnesses were watching their meetings on Zoom, probably all hyped up at first, much like I discussed in my last video. Problem was, they gave Jehovah's Witnesses their freedom, and they had a chance to test the waters. Yeah, they knew that day was coming, that they probably would have to go back to a Kingdom Hall, but they put it off sometime in the future. They put it out of their mind. The thing is, out of sight, out of mind, hits like a bomb. And that's exactly what happened. Well, now they're considering it. Now, in April 1st, I believe it is, they're going back to the Kingdom Hall, and many of them, regardless, they won't admit it, but they're not happy about it. Playtime is over. It's like the first day of school. You remember how it was? You play all summer. You know that first day of school is coming, but it's out of sight, out of mind. It's out of the way. Coffee, guys, sorry. They know the day is coming, but they don't think about it until it actually hits. When they know the actual date that they are going back to the Kingdom Hall, and now it's happened. Well, we have another problem now. The gas prices have skyrocketed. And now many of the Kingdom Halls that are sold, many of Jehovah's Witnesses have to drive many, many miles to go to their nearest Kingdom Hall. So now that they got that weighing on them, now they have to drive 100 miles to go to a meeting several times a week, out in field service. Well, those days are gone. Many people do not want to take their vehicles out in field service. They don't want to drive hundreds of miles away. And now Watchtower's realizing we lost our grip. They totally screwed up. That was something they never took into consideration. What would happen to our sheep if we gave them a little taste of freedom? You know what gets me is so many of Jehovah's Witnesses are willing to give up their liberties that they're not even realizing what it is. I mean, they'll live in countries where they have all sorts of liberties, but they won't fight to keep those liberties. And they don't realize freedom is a commodity that you constantly have to fight for. Well, many of Jehovah's Witnesses are now changing their thought process because they've had that taste of freedom. They didn't have that constant bombardment. They didn't have that constant being watched over, being spied on by other JWs, being watched by the elders. They had their taste of life for the first time, in many cases, the first time in their lives. So, are things changing? Drastically. So when this goes back, some of the witnesses may start going to the meetings, but I'm just wondering how many of them will just say, this is bullshit. The thing is, it's not going to be the same going back as it was before. See, they were away for a while. They've had a chance to clear their heads. So now when they see it and hear it all over again, they're going to be like, what the hell are we listening to? The same thing you've always been listening to. First class bullshit. Anyways, guys, that's all I've got for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I'll be talking to you soon.